G'day everyone, welcome to Point Break. I'm your host Wayne Jacobsen, and today I'm joined by Coach and General Manager of the Neepawa Titans, Ken Pearson. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks for having me, Wayne.
Well, we've been around the block once or twice, and I know maybe you can just talk about you. Who's Ken Pearson? Where did he start his hockey career, and where did that path take you?
Well, from Neepawa, played all my minor hockey here in Neepawa. Played a little bit of AAA in Yellowhead with the Chiefs. When the team came to, when the town got the junior team in '89, I played a little bit with the natives at that time in '89 as a 16-year-old, and became more of a permanent member at 17 through 20. Played junior here, and I was done playing. Joined the club as an assistant coach for 2 years, and from there moved on to a few different cities in Winkler, North Battleford, Brooks, Alberta, and Winnipeg, and Prince Albert. Ultimately, led back to Neepawa about 4 years ago.
And of course, you, if I'm not mistaken, coached quite extensively with Don McGilvery.
Yeah, Don, I was an assistant with him here for 2 years, and then we were together for a year in Prince Albert, and he's the guy who got me into coaching, and very grateful for that. And he was just hired here earlier this week to be the assistant coach with the Calgary Hitmen in the Western Hockey League.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Don's still going strong then.
He's still going strong. Yeah, he's pretty passionate about the game, and it was good to see him get another opportunity in the Western Hockey League.
So your hockey journey has really become part of who you are, I would suggest, and we had an interesting conversation just the other day. I came to Neepawa in 1995, and I think that's probably, I'm going to say 94-95 season, 95-96 possibly. I think you were on the team then.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I was an assistant coach that year. That was one of the years we went to, the division final and on to the league final in against St. James.
Quite a dramatic series.
Yes.
And you still keep in touch. We were going down sort of memory lane. Dave Pernack, Jason Neath, Mike Teehee, and I understand you still keep in touch with those fellas from way back then.
Yeah, it's something that I don't want to say take pride in or whatnot, but I try to keep in touch with guys I played with, guys that I've coached over the years. We just recently, in the last probably 4 or 5 years, guys that I played with, we've really got together and tried to make 3 or 4 different golf outings in the summertime. One of the outings being the Titans or the Natives tournament here in town. Guys that I played with, usually a couple of the same guys. Mike Teehee and Darren Bryant and I usually play the three tournaments for sure together, and then we'll add in another guy like a Travis Lang or Jason Smith. And this couple of weeks ago we had Spencer Platt, and for Spencer, he hadn't seen Mike or Darren since he played, and that was that's going back almost 30 years.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over that journey, is there anything in particular, an event or a title or an individual that really sort of has left a real strong, lasting impression with you?
You know what? There's quite a few different events and whatnot. I mean, obviously we won the league when I was in Winkler in '97, and we just had a reunion back in March when the Titans were playing in Winkler. That team was honored prior to the game, and it was good to see a lot of my former teammates or guys that I coached at that time. I think there was a dozen guys from that team that were able to come out, and they had an alumni game prior to our game that night, and they had a real good event, and was, like I said, just good to catch up and see those guys again. But I don't think there's I can't say any one particular event that really stands out. I mean, the championship ones are always the best ones, and coached in the World Junior A Challenge for Team Canada in 2006, and we won gold in that tournament. And I think we had 5 guys from that team that ended up getting drafted to the NHL. Kyle Turris was drafted that year. He was, I think, taken 3rd or 4th overall that year in the draft. So, that just different things like that. And just personally, some different places that I've coached there's always kind of one little thing that I always remember and are thankful for when I've been to those organizations. And I think just being able to be in the game as long as I have is a great memory itself.
Awesome. So obviously a lot of water under the bridge, so to speak, and now we're looking forward to a whole new season, a new start. How do you see your team lining up this coming season?
Well, I think that we've had a real good recruiting off season. We had some specific holes that we wanted to fill in our lineup, and I think we were able to do that. The last 2 years, we've always kind of started off behind the 8 ball in our goaltending, just unsure for different reasons. I mean, the 1 year it was COVID where everyone needed to be vaccinated, and the one goalie we hadn't been vaccinated prior to the season started, so we had to get vaccinated to come and play. So we missed all the training camp, all the exhibition, and so that was a bit of a challenge for us there. But this year, we're quite confident in the 2 guys that we have in Mason LeBreau and Casey Cookett, and I think that's a real good starting point for us there. Our defense, with some returning guys and Cade Benson and Ewan Poirier, I think are going to be 2 real good pillars for us in the back end. And I think our forward group's going to be should be one of the best in our division. We saw some real good strides with some of our younger guys at the end of the season last year. Cooper Kasprick really came on, Mason Hartley, Carter McLeod, guys like that really got some playing experience in November and December that really we benefited from in February and the early part of March. And we're really looking forward to seeing those guys come back and have some early success.
And of course, it's always kind of an exciting part to any team to see who's coming out of the, whether you call it the via the draft or through trade. So do you see some of the young guys coming on that you're pretty excited about having included in your lineup?
Yeah, the draft itself, it's changed a little bit here the last couple of years. Changed again this year. But we're gonna from our 2006 kind of draft group, born group. We'll likely see we will see three players from that draft play for us this year, and that's always exciting to be able to get your guys to step in and play, because it's a bit of a crapshoot, the draft at times, with everyone's goal is to kind of either go to college or the Western Hockey League. So when it comes to drafting, you got to be careful which guys you think may go to the Western Hockey League when they're 16 or 17 and may never ever play for you. So that's the kind of the fun part of things too, is just talking to the players and now the advisors and the agents about what direction they're going to go. And I think we've been pretty good here the last 2 years at being able to get quality kids that are either unsure of which route they want to go, college or Western Hockey League, and I think we've got some good ones coming into play for us this fall.
And that certainly brings to my mind a very big question mark, and I haven't heard any differently, so I assume it's still somewhat of a question mark, and that's the where Briley Wood is going to end up this coming season. Anything new with Briley?
No, I you know what, he came to us in October last year from the Winnipeg Ice, who've since been sold and moved to a group in Wenatchee, and he had a real good season with us. Turned into a real good playoff opportunity for him going to Winnipeg, where he had success there, and his playoff success turned into the tryout with Colorado at their development camp. He showed very well there from what everyone has said, and I think right now in talking to Wenatchee and whatnot, that he's going to get an opportunity to play in the Western Hockey League this year. He's going back to Colorado's rookie camp in September, so where he's going to end up is going to be completely up to him, I guess, at this point. We feel that we've done a good job here preparing him to go to the next level, and hopefully that's what happens, and that's what we're here for, is to move guys on to the next level.
And I suppose he's a real case in point with what you were referring to as far as drafting players. You know, Briley certainly was a huge impact player for our team, but if he's got the ability and the opportunity to move up to the Western or further, then he's a lost, figuratively speaking, a lost player for your roster.
Yeah, you know, we had him here as a 17-year-old for the COVID shortened season. Then went and joined Lethbridge when they went to the bubble in the Western Hockey League and played out with them, and was traded from Lethbridge to Winnipeg. But we came here to Neepawa and I think gained a lot of confidence. He's always was a good player all through his minor hockey and AAA midget, and I think he was just lacking a little bit of confidence, and I think we were able to provide that for him here. He had a good billet home that he moved into, well liked in the community, well liked in the dressing room, and that's what we're trying to do. And whether we get the player for 1 year or 3 years, we want to make sure that we get a good person who we can move on to be a good person and player at the next level.
And you also brought to my mind, you alluded to the draft, and I understand that, as you said, it changed and that it's really quite complicated the way it works now.
Yeah, it's a first year 18U draft now, and so normally in past years you would draft your players and they would be on your protected list. Now the rules have changed as such that when we draft them in June, they go to a what is called our draft list, and then each year come August 1st, after they've been on your list for say 12 to 14 months, you have to sign that player. And if that player isn't signed by August 1st, he goes into what is then called a restricted list. And any player that's on the restricted list come August 1st, any team can try and sign that player from basically August 1st to September 1st, because once your training camp starts in September 1st, everything is frozen at that point. So teams have a month to try and sign a player for the upcoming season. So if let's say Team A has interest in a player on Team B, they can try and sign that player, and he'd have to play for them this coming season. Now the compensation for that is, if it's a third round draft pick that the player was, the team that signs them has to give Team B their third round pick for the upcoming draft, or there's a cash compensation also. Now the thing though that's a little bit odd about it is the team that signs the player gets to choose whether it's a draft pick or the cash compensation that the other team accepts. So it's all new to everyone, and so once we get past that, training camp and everyone kind of gets their season started, any player that is still on that restricted list that wasn't signed in August, come December 1st, if you don't have those players that are on your restricted list signed to what we have is a letter of intent, and it would be, and when the player signs a letter of intent, it's for the following season. So in this case, come December this year, anyone that's on our restricted list, we would have to sign them to a letter of intent for the 24-25 season. Once you sign that letter of intent, you are, committing to that team, and the team is committing to that player. Now, if you don't sign a player to a letter of intent, or the player decides he doesn't want to sign a letter of intent, any team can sign that player for free. There's no compensation at all. So what we did, this all came about then, basically the day before our draft this past June. So what we tried to do was we got on the phone to as many of the players that we wanted to draft as possible, and we knew we weren't going to get everyone that we wanted, but we wanted to make sure that if we did draft a player, that they were committed to coming to Neepawa, and I think we did a real good job at getting those players committed to the program for this year and for the future year, and we can start signing those players once our training camp comes in September for the 24-25 season.
So I gather you have a contract lawyer on permanent retainer?
Yeah, you almost need one because it's complicated trying to keep everything everything in line, and there's been lots of questions from different managers and coaches with each other as to just exactly how this all works, and I think there's going to be a few hiccups possibly for teams with how things play out, but you know what? I think it's all about trying to keep as many Manitoba kids as they can in Manitoba, as sometimes kids get drafted by certain teams and they don't want to go there, so they end up going to Saskatchewan or Alberta or Ontario or whatnot. So I guess it's the league's view was to try and keep as many kids as possible in Manitoba by giving them more options.
Okay, so, and that was going to be one of my questions, like behind every change there needs to be a goal or a reason. Do you see this change in the draft process being equitable across the league? Is this going to make our league stronger, or is it going to make your job more difficult?
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to spend a lot more time, scouting and pinpointing certain players. Where I think I'm not a big fan of the way that the compensation works, where the team who signs your player then also tells you what you're going to get for compensation. But that was something that was agreed to and voted on by our board of governors, and so we just play by the rules. Where I think it's going to have an effect isn't necessarily in our league. I think it's the league below us. The 18U league is going to feel the effects of this more than anything, because basically, so the draft is 6 rounds, plus you have your 2 auto-protected players. So basically, you have 8 players every year that you are drafting, and that you have to get signed for the next year or risk losing them. So that's 8 17-year-olds that could and should probably be, half of them probably should still play another year of 18U, just for development, maturity. What some kids, they want to come and play in Neepawa or Dauphin or whatnot, but if they're from Winnipeg or the other side of Winnipeg, they want to graduate with their friends, go to school with their friends all year. And I mean, it's not as easy for some as it is for others to pack up and leave home. Mm-hmm. Some guys have a tough time. It's all fine and dandy. Yeah, I want to sign, and I want to play as a 17-year-old. And then as time kind of comes up and creeps towards actually leaving, they get that feeling in their stomach that I don't know if I'm ready to leave home or not. So I think we're putting a lot of pressure on those kids to
make that decision.
And even if they're 50-50, when they get here, maybe you're not getting the player that you thought that you would, because he's only here 50%, mindfully, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's going to affect the AAA midget or 18U league in that, there's 11, 13 teams, and even if those 13 teams have half of their drafted or auto-protected guys play in the league, that's going to affect the 18U league gratefully, I think.
Okay. So
I think it puts a lot of pressure on our league to sign these kids at an early age, and it makes things tough for the 18Us to figure out what kind of teams they're going to have and whether they're going to get players back and whatnot. So.
Okay, and you've mentioned a couple times there auto protect. Maybe you could just, for our viewers, describe what's that mean?
So each team is allowed to auto protect for the draft 2 local players, and so for us that's Neepawa minor hockey. For Dauphin, that's Dauphin minor hockey. So we're allowed to auto protect 2 players. This year we auto protected Addison McIntosh and Colin Klobacki. If you don't protect 2 players, if you protect 1, you get an extra draft pick. So it would be a 7th round pick that you would get. If you don't protect anyone, then you get 2 extra picks, and those would be your 7th and 8th round picks that you could use. So for us, we've been fortunate. We've had some good auto protects. We're going to have a couple of those guys play for our club again this year. We had Cooper Casper play the year before. We'll have Ryland Bray play for us this year. So we're we've done well, and I think that's a tribute to the guys that do the grassroots coaching here in Neepawa. Having some players readily available to step in and play junior hockey.
Great. Okay, so I introduced you as coach and general manager. Quite a different role. You have to make sure that the team exists. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about that and maybe its impact on the town of Neepawa or the surrounding area.
Well, I again, being from here, coached here, played here, and then moving away for 25 years and coaching in other different cities, always kept an eye on how things were here and the importance of the team in Neepawa. I think that the team here practices every day. We play 11, 12 games a month, half of those being home games. So I think that from a financial standpoint, fans come to the games. You got the canteen that operates during our games. I think that just the impact that the organization has at the Yellowhead Center, I think is financially a good chunk of money that is spent here in the community with ice time and whatnot. But also we need to buy different there's certain equipment that we need to buy, and so we're able to spend money back in the community. Some good spin-offs from players being here with billets. Everyone's got to eat, so we got to support our local grocery stores, which I think that they do a good job of supporting us, and so we got to support them. And I think just the guys getting into the community, helping out at different events, be it at the schools, at the old folks' homes with minor hockey, different impact, maybe not financially, but personally and sweat equity that the boys put into with the community. So I think that having a junior team in Neepawa is something that we should be proud of. There's 13 teams in the league, 2 of them in Winnipeg, but I think that there's other communities maybe just outside of Manitoba and certainly in Manitoba that have had teams before and lost them, and there's no chance of them getting those back. And I think that would be something that would be, we're entering our 35th season as an organization, and I think if the team ever left the community, I don't think that we would ever get a team back here in Neepawa.
Wow. So obviously, it's always an uphill battle, but a battle well worth fighting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hone in on something you mentioned there. What does a billet family get every month in order to support the hockey players staying in their home?
Yeah, so they get a small stipend to help pay with obviously for groceries and whatnot, and with the way that things are now, cost wise at the grocery stores in different places. It's probably not enough to feed a player. So and as an organization, it's tough for us to, whatever it is, if it's $350 a month that we pay for people to bill it, for us to go up $50 per player even, it's not going to make that much of a dent in things. So we try to do different things with, different events, give some team or some benefits at our store when we have different events like our sports dinner, our awards banquet, stuff like that. They're provided tickets at a discounted price and whatnot. So, we try and make it so that it doesn't cost the billets, any more than it should. I mean, there's no way to say, your player's 6'4" and 225, so you're going to get $600 a month, and your player's 5'6", 125, so you're going to get $300 a month because that's all he's going to eat. So it's tough to put numbers on that. It doesn't matter what we pay the homes to keep players. It's not enough, and we appreciate the people who do take in 1 or 2 players throughout the year, and we're always looking for billets.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that question, I sort of wanted to get to a really specific example of the impact in our community. So is it $350 a month?
Yeah.
So how many players would you carry on your billet?
20. Well, we pay for 25 to 24, 25
So
players.
whatever 25 times $350 is, I'm
Times
gonna say
7.5 months.
$7,000 or $8,000. And where is that money going? To the grocery stores, most
Right.
likely.
Yeah.
So every month, $7,000 or $8,000 times 8 months.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there, you know, I mean, just for those 2 or 3 or 4, I guess, whatever the number of stores we have in town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's a lot of money, and that has a direct impact
Yeah.
on our community.
Yeah, and you know, as much as we'd like to have, you know, the local guys on the team, obviously we have to spread our web a little bit and bring players in from, you know, the States, Alberta, Saskatchewan. So when their parents come and stay in Neepawa, you know, they're staying at one of the hotels. They're going to eat at the restaurant. So again, that's, you know, a little bit more that they're spending here in the community also.
Well, and you have, and I want to get into the season here just in a second, but roughly 40 home games, including exhibition.
They changed it this year.
Oh.
So it's a 56 game schedule in the showcase. So we're with exhibition games, we're about 30 games.
Okay.
So
not just, you know, families coming in to watch their children play hockey, but fans, the opposition team.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that in most cases they come in and probably have their pre-game meal here in Neepawa. You know, so again, I mean, there's a significant impact throughout our community as a result of the Titans being here.
well, just about every team has to go through Neepawa from the east to play the teams in the west. And I know when I coached in Winnipeg and in Winkler, we always would have a pregame meal on the way through to go to Dauphin, you know, to go to Wayway, to go to Swan River or the Paw, and generally we would stop in Neepawa, you know, for a lot of different reasons. I mean, for me, it could be an opportunity to stop at home and maybe have a visit with some family, my mom and my brother or whatnot. And I know there's other teams that do the same thing. And you know, when they play games here, you know, they're eating post-game meal either at the Yellowhead, which that food is bought someplace in town here, right?
Yeah.
Or they're going to one of our other restaurants, you know, and spending, you know, $400, $500, you know, and that's 30 trips people are making just to our rink. And then you got to think of the trips that those teams are making through to, you know, to Wayway, to Dauphin, to Swan River, to OCN that are coming from the east.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I do want to go sort of back to team operations, and maybe if you could just give us an idea of what does the next, certainly, the next month, and probably the next 3 months, and then what kind of deadline you as a coaching staff have to wrap your minds around.
Right. So next Friday will be the 3rd annual Titan Classic Golf Tournament, which is, you know, sold out, and we're very appreciative of that. You know, it was Landon notified me yesterday that we've sold out. We have no carts left available for the tournament, so we're at a sellout, which is great. It's been a great event. You know, the previous 2 have been fun, and, you know, brought back some alumni that hadn't been to Neepawa in many years. So we're into the golf tournament, and then I was at the rink yesterday, and they're already prepping the slab for the ice to go in, and we'll start hockey school for the first time. We're going to start our first ever hockey school August the 28th to the 31st. So there'll be 4 days of hockey school, and that's 6 sessions on the ice that we'll have daily. We'll have each child will have 2 skates, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. They'll do some dry land fun and training, whether it's you know, playing some soccer, some, you know, flag football, or capture the flag, and also just some different, you know, foot speed drills. We got planned for that. And then we begin camp. Our main camp begins September the 2nd on the Saturday. We're gonna have, you know, a smaller camp this year, probably only a little over 40 people will be at that camp. We'll practice Saturday. We'll play a game Saturday night against each other. We'll play 2 games, one in the morning, one in the early afternoon on the Sunday, and then we'll reduce our camp roster down to prepare for our first preseason games. Our first preseason game, we will be going to Dauphin. That is going to be an all rookie game up in Dauphin, and then the next night we're back here We play the Cam River Walleye out of the Superior International Junior Hockey League. They're doing a little tour through Manitoba. They're based just out of Thunder Bay, so we'll play them. We'll have a couple days of practice, and then we play two games against Wayway on the weekend, and then so from there, Wayne, we'll reduce our roster again. We'll have a week of practice, play 2 more preseason games against Portage, and then at that point, we want to be down to our, probably 23 to 25 players at that point. So Hockey Canada has changed rules again this year. We're allowed to have 25 players on our roster. There used to be a deadline of December 1st where you had to be down to 25 players and or cards, and now it's simply a January 10th roster.
So everything's open to January 10th, and as of January 10th, you have to be down to 25?
Yeah. Which is different. Normally you're down to 23.
Okay.
So,
and I would imagine, you and I have been around the block enough times with the summer hockey programs from days gone by. It's always so difficult. I mean, your top line, sort of a no-brainer, your top D-men, your goalie, and then you're going to get to that point where there's one player I'm probably going to let go that ends up being, that's always got to be such a difficult process.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and what it comes down to, I guess, what we look at is just the character of the player. Whether how he's going to be if he doesn't play, if it's at 7th or 8th defenseman that you keep around, or if he's the 13th or 14th forward. Is he gonna practice hard? Is he going to be a good teammate? Is he good in the dressing room? Is he going to put in the extra time after practice, before practice, in the gym, on the ice? That's things all that play into whether you keep that player as your 24th or 25th player.
Mm-hmm. And again, you've been down this road so many times before, but it used to be the 14-year-old draft, was it not?
Yeah, it was used to be 14s, which then was 2 years before they really would get an opportunity to play for you.
So you draft someone at 14 who's just like skates like the wind and is fantastic, and then 4 years later you go, what happened to that guy?
Yeah.
So what I'm getting to is how they develop. What you see on September the 1st, as opposed to what you see at the end of March,
right,
I think is probably a critical process too.
Yeah, you take into their, what their trajectory will be, throughout the year. I mean, you may see a guy early on in camp, and there's just something there that you really like, and so you stick with that player and hope that come November, December, what you see is going to come out, and we have had that. We've had that happen here. I'll use a guy as an example. And when he was an 18-year-old, Ewan Poirier was a guy that we were kind of on the fence with, and brought him in and talked to him about where we kind of seen him in our group, and asked him to be patient and put in time on the ice, off the ice, and as a 19, 20-year-old, he would have success. And I think he embraced that. He did everything that was asked of him. Came in last year, and I think just got better as the year went along. And I think that this year, he's going to be a very good player for us on the back end.
And of course, I mean, as a commentator on games, I always have sort of highlighted the importance of a defensive core, getting the puck. And obviously, there are teams that really put a lot of pressure in our defensive zone. And how key it is for control and making that first good pass. Based on other years, how do you see this core this year shaping up?
Yeah, I think we'll have a real good puck-moving group. I think that we've really put an emphasis on skating and being able to get back, retrieve the puck, either make a good first pass, or the ability to skate the puck out of the zone, as opposed to getting it and just hammering it off the boards or off the glass. We want our guys to make plays. We want our defense to, if they're making that pass, to be able to jump up into the play. So again, he's got to be able to skate, because if he gets going to the offensive zone with the puck and doesn't score or puck misses the net, well, if he's the first guy back or in on the rush, he's got to be the first guy back to defend also. So we put an emphasis on skating on our defense this year.
56 games. And I suppose the one trap in my mind is the first 2 or 3 or 4 games of the regular season. Well, we got a lot of games ahead of us. Just how important is it to get off to that good start?
Very. I mean, you just look to what happened to us last year with our injuries. Had we gotten off, I mean, we got off to a decent start, but we ended up having 7 guys out at one point, and that was kind of our undoing in October, where we went 2-7-2. The 7 games that we lost were to teams in our division, so that's 14 points right there that we give to teams in our division. And once we got back healthy, it was tough to claw back and get those points back, because some of those teams we didn't play. So you don't get that opportunity to get those points back. So it is key to get off to a good start. And as they say, like you can make the playoffs in September and October, but you can certainly miss them by not having those 2 good months. So that's something that we are going to stress here early and often, and we're going to change our approach to training camp. As I said, we're having a small camp, so we're going to get right down to it early. We're going to get right into our systems and our team concepts in preseason, as opposed to other years where you have 30 guys or 35 guys around and try and get everyone into at least one game. We don't have time for that. We think we're ready to. We feel we're ready to take that next step with this group that we've got here now, and with the additions that we've made. We want to integrate them into our systems right out of training camp and into the games. We want to put all of our schemes and systems into play in our preseason and see how guys react and who can play them. So maybe you look good when it's unstructured hockey, and when we put some structure into it, we want to see how they can play, and some guys can't. Some guys are the riverboat gamblers and are all over the place during training camp. You get into a game with structure and they don't know how to play the game. So we want to make sure that we get things in place early, so that guys know how we want to play, and we want to know which guys can play in certain situations.
And I guess finally, the big ultimate question. I'm sure you have a pretty keen sense of how the other teams within our division are kind of shaping up based on last year and who they've lost and who they haven't. How do you see the Titans doing this year?
Well, we've improved every single year on our points, and that's what we want to obviously do again this year is increase our point totals from what we had last year. And I think that we've got a group that is ready to take that next step. That was something that they made clear in our one-on-one meetings at the end of the season last year, is that not making the playoffs is not something that sits well. And this group that we've got here returning, led by our captain, Cody Gwynison, that group is ready now after 2 years of, the 1 year we missed the playoffs by 2 points, and that's frustrating. And last year, although we improved on our point totals from the previous year, we missed the playoffs. So I think that we're ready to take that next step and get right into the thick of the battle, and not just the thick of the battle in December and January. We want to be right there at the end of March.
Awesome. So I'm sure I can say on behalf of every resident of Neepawa and area, the best of luck this year. We certainly look forward to the playoffs.
Well, thanks for having me, Wayne.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ken. So on behalf of Point Break, this is Wayne Jacobsen saying thank you for joining us.